ideologies don't get that sort of treatment. And so all I want to do is treat fascism like any other ideology.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even communism is more acceptable than fascism, and objectively, it killed more people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm never too comfortable determining, which ideology killed more than another ideology, because there's just way too many factors that go into that. But certainly I think you can definitely make an argument that communism has on the whole been more dangerous than fascism. And yet communism still has a very strong contingent of the intellectual sphere in which it is still politically correct to just acknowledge its bright spots, and even if you don't totally get behind it, to at least engage with it honestly. And in fact, it's kind of frowned upon in the intellectual sphere to not engage with it on that level, and to engage with it on that very kind of paranoid Cold War level. And yet we have a very paranoid Cold War approach to talking about fascism. And to me, I think that's kind of a hypocrisy, although I'm not really one to get mad at hypocrisy in general. I kind of like hypocrisy, but it is an inconsistency that I don't think is necessary and I don't think is productive.
I definitely would agree, but because, speaking publicly, that's the whole argument is, well, fascism kills people, well, communism kills people too. Everything kills people. But you have to see there are benefits to everything.
Yeah, I mean,
It's very true.
otherwise it wouldn't have gotten popular.
I'm rereading Fascism Viewed from the Right as well. And so, in it had something, and it says, fascism has undergone a process of what can be called mythologizing. In regard to it, the attitude taken by most people has an emotional and irrational character instead of a critical and intellectual one. They have made Mussolini and fascism into objects of a myth. Now, aside from the mythologizing that fascism creates around itself and stuff, I mean, it's entirely a thing built off of a self mythology. I mean, I guess any political ideals are, but but I think it really just shows the point that I was trying to make with things like Ozzy Osbourne's death and Charles Manson. The including fascism, and I'm gonna put the clip in here again. But there's a thing when I was talking to Forever Dirt, and we were talking about how there's this Cold War era of thinking around fascism, and it's very intellectually dishonest. And I'm not gonna say it's irrational like Evola did in here, because frankly, I don't think irrationality and rationality is a real thing. Really, I mean, like, sure, there's this is a smarter decision for your self-preservation, or this is a more negative one, but it's like there's no the line between rational and irrational is very blurry. Like, is it rational that we have nuclear weapons? Well, I mean, it takes a high amount of rationality to be able to make them, presumably, because you have to have that understanding of things. But then at the same time, it's like, well, where's the fucking rationality in the fact that you made nuclear weaponry in the first place? Well, I mean, the rationality is it was made so that we could beat the Germans in World War II. Except we never used it on the Germans, we used it on the Japanese. And now we have hentai. So, I guess all is well. And this is where I appreciate things like the Provo movement, actually, because, at least the Provo were realistic and they expected to fail. And I quote from their literature, Provo realizes that it will fail in the end. And I mean, or the aesthetic terrorist movement, who, in a disregard for the peace and love that the hippie generation had bolstered, but lacked in power, basically said, fuck it, this is a brutal regime, and this is the reality, fuck you, and it can be burned down if we can really make it. And it's really, I guess it was really taking into the idea of the Marxian idea of the bloody death throes of the old society. And, speaking of, and, I guess also in line with Marx, the lineage of the communist concept, which has its end goal, albeit, a bastardization of ideology and a very Cold War take, as a utopia, resulted in anything but, and as with fascist Italy, Soviet Ukraine, and any of these other things. Like, none of these things that I'm interested in or talk about exist in a bubble. Like, it's all interconnected. Like, could say that, I mean, even could go with, as with Italy, as with Soviet Ukraine, and as with, I don't know, maybe Manifest Destiny America,